Everyone. Figured I'd use this time between calls and dinner and various other things to talk about a few things that I think are pretty important. First of all, the forum in Detroit just a few days ago, I think, left unfortunately little to be desired. The moderators, the questions really didn't get to many of the things that I wanted to talk to, definitely things that I don't think even my colleagues wanted to address. Unfortunately, it was a bit of a sideshow. So, figured want to talk about being battle ready. There's a lot of talk about being battle ready. Well, we are already in the battle. Inauguration Day hasn't even happened yet, and we are faced with a whole bunch of things already. So we can't afford to wait. If we do, we won't be battle ready. We will. The battle will have already been started and already passed us, and we will be left playing catch up. Unfortunately, that's a posture that we're in right now that isn't too great. So the big talk right now is about TikTok. Yes, this is a big issue, and yes, we need to talk about it. We didn't talk about it in any of the forums, but this goes to what I've been saying all along, the dynamic in which we get our information, on how we conduct our politics, how we reach voters, how we address relationships. It's all changed. And this is a big issue right now. First of all, to make things abundantly clear, this is a manufactured crisis by you know who. He hasn't even been inaugurated yet, and yet his name's all over this. He created this issue a while ago. Unfortunately, Democrats sort of fell into this hook, line, sinker, not thinking long term, not thinking about the consequences, and here we are. So, we are dealing with this crisis of sorts online. And yes, to be abundantly clear as well, TikTok is a threat to national security. The People's Republic of China, essentially, the government does have direct access to TikTok. I know they say they don't. ByteDance doesn't say they do. There's credible evidence and intelligence that says otherwise. We do not want a state actor, a foreign state actor, an adversary have the ability to manipulate our discourse in anything, whether it has to do with politics, various other things as well. However, like I said, the dynamic has changed. Now we have an oligarchy, the other platforms led by Zuck and Elon and the bro oligarchy, essentially trying to do the same, manipulating, changing their policies, changing their algorithms to help you know who, to either amplify content that is allied with his thinking or suppressing content that will do otherwise. They are being very transparent about this. This is what's happening. And so not only are we dealing with an outside threat, for instance, with TikTok, but now we're dealing with an insider threat with the other platforms. Yes, I see the irony to where I'm using those platforms right now to get this information out. That being said, there are certain things that we can do. So, what are they? Instead of just talking about this as an existential threat, there are certain steps and things that I would suggest people do to get organized on this. Number one, do not download Little Red Book or Zhao Hung Shu. Sorry, my Mandarin is terrible. Literally directly translates to Little Red Book. The PRC, they're just not hiding this anymore. It's pretty apparent. If you're a privacy advocate, the issues with this app are far worse than TikTok. It's TikTok on crack cocaine. So this isn't going to solve anything. It may actually make things worse. So do not go this route. Secondly, grow your audience. Everybody's talking about this right now. Go ahead, start growing your audience on different platforms. Yes, if you're on TikTok, I guess grow those too. The iron's hot, so strike now. Also, make sure that you are collaborating with your community on everything. Make sure that you're talking about this transparently and open. Fill the space. Also, see what you can do to port not only your content, but also your audience over to the other platforms as well. Things are going to get crazy. Who knows if there's going to be further injunctions, whether the court's going to get involved, whether TikTok shuts down again, whatever. If you were concerned about that, Try to bring as much as your community, your followers, your content over to other platforms that are that much more stable. It'll also give you an opportunity to organize on those platforms as well. Yes, I am fully aware that they're different. TikTok is more focused on community, others are really focused on individuals and direct connection there. However, again, it's a good fail safe to have. Um, Also, work with your community to further build your network. And this is really important. Make sure those networks carry across platforms because the next thing you want to do is probably discuss what you can put together as an amplification plan. So we got warned by President Biden that we are going to face an avalanche of mis and disinformation. The way to counter this is to amplify credible, factual content, but also good content. Unfortunately, we live in an online environment where facts just aren't going to win it for us. It's about flooding the space, it's about volume, it's about making sure that content is authentic, genuine, and not sort of like some overproduced crud that we see. Unfortunately, that's something that we need to learn as a Democratic Party, that some of the content that's put out there, it needs to be netroots, it needs to be grassroots. And that's where content creators come in and the creativity comes in. But yes, make sure that you try to discuss what you can amplify. That is going to be huge. Also, feel free to experiment. And the great thing about being online and everything is you can fail 1,000 times before you hit something that trends or becomes viral or that you pick up an audience. This is huge. Unlike, I think, the risk averseness that we're dealing with within the party, online, you can try a bazillion things and you could fail a bazillion times. And you have the freedom to do that because things move at machine speed. And we need to take advantage of that. So experiment, definitely take advantage of failing. Okay, I don't think that's anything new. Especially with the other side, they're operating without consequences. Okay, they're throwing everything at the wall. Some of it's sticking, and when it does, they double, triple, quadruple down on it. We need to do somewhat similar. Um, Use the policies against the companies. What do I mean by this? Obviously, they all have terms of use. There are certain things in there that have to do with privacy, that have to do with reporting. If there's bad content out there, get it out there. Don't sort of amplify the bad content, but inform and work with your communities to double down on reporting. Okay. The last thing that these companies want is litigation or new litigation fronts opened up. Okay. So the more that they're under threat from that, they will either take down or alter their policies, algorithms, et cetera, to make sure that they're not getting sued. Okay, that's huge. Also, educate yourselves. Educate yourselves on what the other side is saying. Educate yourself on what those trends are, what those tags are, who the content creators are, what those audiences are, because you're going to need to know how to push back. And you're not going to understand or know that unless you're seeing what the other side is doing. Plus, you need to educate your audiences as well. Okay, you also need to inoculate yourself and audiences too on what's going to be thrown at them. So obviously, we're going to see a bunch of falsehoods. We'll see the use of AI. We'll see further use of deep fakes. We'll see just falsities all over the place and a whole bunch of crap. So make sure that you inoculate folks, your audiences, your communities on what those are, who those people are, what those trends are, what those memes are, etc. Again, it's good Oppo research. And then agitate. Make sure if there's certain things out there that call out for action, call out that action. Sound the alarm. Do it loud. And then do it within your community and have your community amplify that too. Very, very, very important. Also, mobilize civically. This is more of a long-term battle, but there are issues obviously here to where we need better privacy laws. And even more so, we need to break up these new age robber barons, these oligarchies or broligarchies. You know, these guys are operating without consequence. They're modern telecom conglomerates, and they need to be broken up. If you're a student of history, I think you know what I'm talking about. That is a long-term issue, but you know, mobilize around that as well. Educate yourselves and other on sort of how to get involved civically. Also, safety. Safety is huge in this. Okay, Make sure your privacy things are on lock. Make sure you're using two-factor authentication. If you have an authenticator app, even better. If you have a token system, great. Make sure you have a decent password. All the basic stuff on that. Also, make sure your geolocation settings are on lock as well. You don't probably want to tag yourself and geolocate yourself in everything that you do and everywhere that you go. And also be aware of the metadata that you're sharing out there, because then you need to also educate yourselves on things having to do with doxing and swatting and hoaxes and things of that sort. It's a little scary, but it's things that we now need to learn about. Also, educate, if you're a parent, educate your kids about safety online, about bullying, about various other things, and let them know that they have an open outlet that they can talk to you about things. And then lastly, be a credible messenger yourself, not just online, but in real life. So when you're talking at the water cooler, I know we don't really do that anymore. But when you're at work, when you're working with teams on Zoom or in Teams or any virtual environment, that you have the ability to talk about these things. Because you yourself, as a credible messenger, can dispel myths, falsities, and just crap out there that much more easily than sometimes all the various other content that is being shared and thrown at people. So you yourself, put yourself in the driver's seat, educate yourself, educate others, and just double down on your relationships that way. I know we are tired. I know there's a high level of anxiety. A lot of people put everything out in the field, and we are going to go through a very exhausting 4 years. But we got to fight, and we got to fight now. This is one sort of some suggested ways in where you can mobilize and you can organize, but now's the time to do it. So hang in there, be safe, and organize.